Last week, Danny came down ill with some awful seasonal sickness, and I spent a few days looking after him, thinking, hey, at least it hasn't got me. Inevitably, it has got me. I'm very unwell at the minute. I feel that I was going to use a word that I can't say this early on in the video, or I will be demonetized. Or I will be demonetized. I am in Spain without the S. However, this weekend also happens to be the only free time I have to work on that project. What's that project, you ask? Because that looks like a perfectly good enclosure. That's not a project, that's finished. That's complete. Wrong. Also, welcome to the channel. You're clearly new here. Although I will admit it does look like a perfectly fine enclosure. It looks like a perfectly usable enclosure because it has been a perfectly usable enclosure for the last couple of years since it was built. But an unfortunate tradition that I've acquired is that I never use the same enclosure exactly as it is more than once, because while I'm using it the first time, I inevitably discover things that I don't like about it, and then as soon as it's free again, I take the whole thing apart and redo it. There's a couple of things about that enclosure that I don't like, but I won't be fixing this time around purely because I don't have the money to fix it this time around. The fact that it's made of particle board will continue to bother me until I can fix it. The only reason it's made of particle board and not real wood is because I built it during the global lumber shortage. And if you are somebody who works with lumber and remembers the global lumber shortage, you know how hard it was to get your hands on anything. It was a hard time to be a woodworker. So it's actually made from IKEA dining tabletops. I can't remember the exact name. Actually, I think it was Meltorp. There's a number of reasons I don't like particle board. To start with, it's just a low quality material. It's not great for longevity. I want my enclosures to last as many years as possible, which is why I prefer to use real wood. It's also a very heavy material, which wouldn't be a problem if you never needed to move it from place to place, but we're renters, so at some point we will have to move it. And particle board doesn't stand up well under moisture, which is not great for an animal enclosure. Luckily, this has not got any moisture damage this time around. We'll see how long it lasts before that happens. But one day I will be swapping out the particle board for real wood, just not today. The two problems I will be addressing today: number one, the lid. The lid is fine, it works, it functions, there's nothing wrong with it, but I really like the squared off design I did for the dwarf enclosure, so I just want to change this oval arched round off. Whatever shape this is. It's an arch. It's an arch. You learned this when you were 5. I'm reconstructing the lid to make it square shaped instead of arched. I'm also going to make the lid a little shorter in height. It's a very tall lid because it was originally built for a different DIY enclosure I made many years ago. There was a shallow enclosure, and so the lid needed to be big to create extra space, but this one doesn't need the extra space, so I'm gonna shorten the lid. And the second thing I need to fix about this is really stupid. If you're new here, you need some backstory for this. We used to have a couple of very large homemade enclosures in our previous home. However, when we moved out of that apartment, those had to be left behind because we physically could not get them through the doorways, through the corridors, into the lift, down the stairwell, we could not get them out of the home. We did not have enough time to deconstruct them because we were forced to move right in the middle of the pandemic, and to top things off, we were informed the day that we were going to move that there was going to be another countrywide lockdown in 2 days. And in my country, those lockdowns were incredibly strict. So we had just 2 days to get everything out of that apartment, across several villages to the new village we were moving to, and into our current home. And it was not fun. That experience was not fun. I don't recommend it. We were extremely pressed for time, and it was just too much stress. And we decided we'll just leave the enclosures behind and build new ones in the new place, which is what we did. But one of my rules when I was building the new enclosures is that I wouldn't make the same mistake twice of making an enclosure that was so big you physically could not get it out of the room that it was in. That was a rule I set for myself. An important rule, a very, very important rule. So you tell me why this enclosure is 10 centimeters too deep to fit out that door. I don't know how I messed that up, because I know I measured it. I measured it multiple times. It was important. It was like a key feature of the enclosure. So the main reason that I am taking this enclosure fully to pieces is because I need to shave 10 centimeters off the front to back depth. Of course, that does mean that the internal measurements will be a little smaller. Currently, it is 1,300 square inches. It will be going down to 1,100 square inches. It's not a huge difference. I'm still comfortable and confident in my ability to create an enriching environment for a Syrian hamster in an enclosure that's 1,100 square inches. I don't like to put Syrians in anything under 1,000 square inches. That's my personal baseline minimum for a Syrian, but it is extremely important that I make it small enough to fit through the door, because at some point we are going to have to move and I don't want to have to leave it behind. The third thing I'm going to be doing to it, just because, is repainting the outside of it. It's currently white. I think I'm just going to be painting it black because the other furniture in this room is black and it looks a little weird. We don't have any white furniture in our entire home except for that. And it's a bit weird. So I'm going to make it match everything else. I'm going to leave the inside of it white though, because most of that gets covered up by the bedding and all the toys that go into it. And white is also a good contrasting backdrop when I'm filming inside the enclosure. This is why we make lids with dowel fixtures. So you can just pop them off. Ha 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 ha. Alright, this next bit has the potential to go perfectly fine, and that is where that sentence ends, because there are no other options. If it doesn't go perfectly fine, no, we need to remove the glass, and I hate working with glass. Just FYI, if this glass shatters, it costs about 40 euros to replace it. I don't have a spare 40 euros, so yes, this 5mm thick rug will definitely save the day if anything goes wrong. Where is my knife? I want the big one. I do not currently have access to the big knife, so we'll use the little craft knife. Come on, there you go. I'm gonna have so much fun scraping all the excess silicone off this later. That's my favourite thing to do. Question is, can you be lifted yet? Is lifting you even an option? Where is my screwdriver? I'm lazy. We're using the drill. Because that's not overkill or anything. Ooh, can we lift you? Or are you still stuck? You're still stuck, aren't you? I'm just thinking, I'm gonna have to do this again in 2 years, when I switch out the particle board for real wood. Hey Elizabeth, if this glass falls, catch it for me. Tell love. Right, I can see my blade sticking out the other side. Yes, we are winning now. Until this glass explodes right in my face. We're stuck. I did such a good job of installing this. Okay, task now, get the glass off there onto this carpet. I'm going to remove the top two supports so I don't have to lift it as high. Oh yeah, oh my god, my hands are so slippy. Slippy hands! Ah! Oh shit. My hands are sweating. I've got a bit of a temperature and my hands are absolutely soaked with sweat and I'm trying to lift glass. Come on. Alright. We got this. Yay. Ah! Alright. That's my least favourite part done. Now stay in one piece, please. The rest of this is just taking out screws and pulling it apart. As I've done that, I've just realised I needed to tip this onto its face. Right, this back piece is the only bit that doesn't need to be cut. So, I need a pencil. Do not cut. Proactively saving myself from myself. tell you something. This piece was definitely not supposed to come off. This is why I don't like particle board. Unreliable. How are we gonna fix you now? We're gonna stick you back on, and we're gonna pretend I can't see you, and that's gonna make all my problems go away. Cut this side. I could be a doctor with that handwriting. That screw that's still sticking out there is probably why the back piece broke. In fact, no, that absolutely is why the back piece broke. Oh, I just realised it broke on the outside. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I don't even need to fix it then. If it's broken on the inside, I'd be in a bit of trouble. It's broken on the outside, on the back, no one's gonna see it. It's not gonna get moist because it's on the outside, not the inside. Brilliant. Ooh. Aye, there we go. Don't you run out of battery on me. Fantastic. So now I need to saw 10 centimeters off the base piece and 10 centimeters off each of the side walls. Do nothing to the back. Don't touch the back. And then I also need to sand and repaint the exterior walls. These have picked up so much dust, just having been sat here for a week. Ugh. I did 3 layers of black paint, left it out in the hot sun, forgot how science worked, touched it with my bare hands, burnt myself. Other than that small hiccup, everything else did go quite smoothly. Now I have to reassemble the base. I will not be putting the glass in until the very last moment, until there's nothing more I can do other than put the glass in, just in case. I'm not anticipating that anything will go wrong, but having that mindset has yet to save me, so. Does anyone remember how I built this? Because that information would be really useful right now. Hamsters, what is, where is whom? Well, you're obviously side pieces, I can figure that much out. Ooh, you're a side piece with a dent in it. Oh, no. We'll have to do a bit of patching up after this. It'll be fine. There is a little bit of paint on the wall. Nobody worry about that. I just realised I sawed off the bit with the pilot holes in it, which means I need to add new pilot holes. Should have done that first. Don't mind me, I am a professional. More terrifying words have never been spoken. For the base piece, the back piece, we're going to pretend one of these has not bowed slightly. You know, I'm thinking about it now and I'm pretty sure the first time I made this, I did do back, side, and then the base. Oops. I'm not unscrewing it though, so we will just continue on and pretend everything is fine. What? How? I'm not anticipating that anything will go wrong, but having that mindset has yet to save me, so. Time for a stress cooking segue. You're gonna need some heat, you need a pan, and then you need some spiralized courgette. Pre-seasoned. Add some of your favorite flavors to it beforehand, if that's just salt and pepper. Bless your heart, but carry on doing you. Fry it just for a few minutes. You want it to be tender but not soggy. Then throw in some spinach because it's good for you, and some tomatoes because they're good for you. Poke everything around with a wooden stick until it seems edible. That's a piece of trout. That is a slightly burnt piece of honey glazed trout. plop that on there. And there you go, easy, nutritious, filling, and done in under 10 minutes. I'm gonna go and eat this in a dark, quiet corner, and I'll be back when I'm feeling less annoyed. Don't ask too many questions. It's fixed, that's all that matters. And now for the real moment of truth. Finding out if it actually fits through the door now. This is gonna be comical if it doesn't. Ready, Harrison? Da, 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 da. Fantastic. Wonderful. So that bit's done. Now we just have to work on the lid. Now the last time you saw the lid, it looked like this. I have some restrictions around my material use at the minute. I'm not allowed to buy any more materials until I've worked through at least half of my current supplies / hoard. I hoard so many building materials. We live in a very small house. It's starting to get a bit much. So I couldn't buy any more materials for building this lid, which meant I needed to use the materials from the old lid to build the new one. That required taking the old one apart. It took me about half an hour to disassemble it. 25 minutes of that was just pulling staples from the mesh. But after the fact, I had a nice pile of useful materials that was ready to be resanded and reused. Now don't worry, I have saved you the pain of having to watch me do all the sanding and the prep and all that boring stuff once again. I did it off camera. So we have 3 of the wooden strips from the original lid. Everything has been sanded, it's been painted black, the same colour as the outer part of the enclosure. I also took a length of wood from my hoard, cut it into 2 strips, which are painted black on one side and white on the other for the inside of the enclosure. Everything has been measured, sanded, painted, pilot holes have been drilled and countersunk. From the side walls of the old lid, I cut out the side walls of the new lid, and I did something clever this time. I actually planned this out. I drew it down. I made sketches instead of just having all the images in my head and having to get you guys to just guess what I was doing until it was finished. So here are the sketches, here's the plans, in case you're wondering, what? As I mentioned earlier in the video, it's basically the same design as the dwarf lid. This piece will be fixed onto the enclosure, this doesn't move, this will be the actual door that opens. They join together with some hinges and it just opens up like that. Same as the dwarf cage. And as for the mesh, I've taken one piece of the mesh from the old lid, and can you even see it? I've painted it black so that it's easier to see through, because this is something that you should always do. Always paint your mesh black. It's just better. It's just better. I've also pre-bent the side there so that it can go round the lid. It's gonna be a square lid. Did I mention that? I definitely did. By the way, if you notice me hobbling around in this part of the video, or the bandaging on my hand, don't worry yourselves. I went for a rather cinematic fall this morning when I was out on my run through the woods where the ground is made up of 90% rocks, big rocks, little rocks, tiny rocks, all varying degrees of sharpness. I was running, I tripped on something, probably one of the aforementioned rocks, flipped over myself and went for a little skid. In case you're wondering what that might have felt like, go get your cheese grater from your kitchen and just rub it up and down your body. My left knee took the brunt of the impact. It is not a pretty injury. It hurts still quite a lot. It's been a few hours. Still in a decent amount of pain. I didn't know how serious the injury to my leg was until I got home. I could just feel the radiating pain. I did, however, notice all the blood on my hand that was coming out of my hand. Shouldn't have been. Blood's supposed to stay on the inside. It wasn't doing that. That made me a little concerned. Danny patched me up. I'm covered in plasters and bandages now. And he bought me a whole box of donuts to make me feel better. Which kind of makes the whole thing worth it. This sheet of wood is going to be the back of the lid. These are the fixed sides, so these need to attach onto it. And it's just 2 screws going from the back piece into the side piece. That's what that looks like. Now we need the other sheet of wood. This is going to fix on top of the 2 side walls. Yes, Elizabeth, I can hear you. And it is still not dinner time. Let me try and show you what I'm doing here. So the side wall, you can see, is a bit shorter than the back wall. That's intentional, that's part of the design, because I want to do a top shelf like I did for Lotus's enclosure. So for the top shelf, I have the 1 strip of wood here, and I have a 2nd strip of wood, recycled from the old lid, and those 2 fill in that space. Now, the only reason this is in 2 pieces is because, as I mentioned earlier, I can't buy new material. I have to just work through the stuff that I have. And unfortunately, I don't have a strip of wood that perfectly filled the size I wanted for this shelf. So I have to use 2 different pieces just to get the depth that I'm after. There's absolutely no reason why this needs to be 2 different pieces. It could just be one if I had 1 piece of that depth, but I don't. So 2 pilot holes there, 1 there, screws straight through to the side piece. Because I countersunk the pilot holes, each of these screws is sitting just below the surface of the wood. There's a little bit of a gap there. That's been done intentionally because I'm going to fill them over with some wood filler. This wood filler is made from the sawdust that came from this very project, from cutting the wood, and it's mixed in with some PVA glue. It creates this very thick wood paste that you can use to fill in gaps. You can also buy wood filler in hardware stores, but this is the old-fashioned way of doing it. And you just cover over those gaps, and when that dries I can paint over it with the same color of paint, and that will hide the screws. Time jump into the future again, because despite how it may appear, these projects do take time. Here's how we're looking on the back piece. You've got those 2 fixed ends, you've got the top, all of that has been wood filled, the screw holes have been wood filled, sanded, painted, lovely. I'm gonna go ahead now and put this straight onto the enclosure. No, I'm not actually. There's one more thing I need to do. I need to reattach the LED strip lights. This is the exact same strip that I took from the old lid, which means none of the sticky works on the back anymore. So I'm gonna have to glue it down. Unfortunately, these aren't the multicolored ones like I have in Lotus's enclosure. I love those so much. If I had some multicolored ones, I'd be using them, but I only have the plain white ones. They do dim, which is essential if you're going to be lighting up your small pet enclosure, but they don't change color. All you have is white in various shades of brightness. I should double check these still work before I attach them. Yeah, marvelous. In case the concern is crossing your mind, yes, these will be out of reach of the hamster. In order to wire this up in the most safe and efficient way, I need to drill a hole through this side wall, which is big enough for the cable to go through, and then the lights themselves just get stuck directly onto the wood. There's a screw going through that bit. I should know that, because I put it there. In my defense, that was a week ago, and we're all very aware of how atrocious my memory is. Well, you know what they say. Wood filler and paint makes you the carpenter you ain't. I'm gonna have to put that aside while the wood filler dries and do the lighting later. For now, we shall keep ourselves busy by doing the front half of the lid, the opening part. We've got more funky shapes and more long sticks. This is another easy one. Screws go into this, those go into that, those then together, and door. 1 length of wood, 1 side piece, 1 screw. Funky side piece number 2. Look, it's a criminal ping pong ball. His current favourite crime is to take all the sand from the back corner of his sandbox, move it to the front corner, and then kick it down to the bottom. It's not like that sand's expensive or anything. You know, it's fine to just waste it like that. Not a problem, and at least you carry on, little king. You continue. Na-na-na. Na-na-na. This is the last strip of wood. This fixes on across the top. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Like that. Yeah. Oops. We're gonna go ahead and move this onto the floor. And now for my absolute least favourite part of building enclosure lids, stapling on the mesh. So I've got my mesh here, painted black and pre-bent to go around the shape of the lid. And all I have to do is take my staple gun and just staple it. Ta-da! Door finished. Now let us have a second attempt at putting the lights on this bottom piece, back piece, whatever piece. I'm gonna thread the end of it through this hole that I got right first time and didn't need to remake. It's absolutely perfect, you all saw it. Thread it through there, or not, I'm gonna get stuck. Come on, there we go. And then I'm just gonna use some strong glue to stick it flat to the underside of this lid. Wearing gloves while I do this because there is yet to be a time in lived history where I haven't glued my fingers together. So we just don't take the risk anymore. Right, doesn't fall off, that's good enough. Finally, time to start reassembling. So we take the back piece of the lid. This is being fixed on the same way I fix all my lids on, with dowels. If you haven't seen the nifty little dowel attachment, it's the most basic way to attach this. 3 dowels sticking up from this end, and they just go into corresponding holes on the bottom of the lid. That is the only thing that keeps this lid fixed in place. It's not a tight fit, so you can easily just take it back off again if you need to get into the enclosure to deep clean it. But the rest of the time, it sits nice and sturdy on top. So that's that bit in place. And you've got the lid that actually hinges open. This is only held together by the hinges themselves, which aren't fixed on yet. There's going to be 3 hinges. It just goes right on there. It's going to be 3 hinges, 1 in the center, 1 at either end, and that's going to allow the lid to lift up and down. There's a very high probability that I'll be taking these hinges off and spray painting them black at a later date, just so they all blend in. The very last thing that I need to do to finish this enclosure is to refit the glass into the front.
Never let him get you down. Gonna make you stay just fine. 이대로 모자라지도 넘치지도 않아. 'Cause I got my collection. 따뜻한 물에 bathe. 향기 가득한 로션 촉촉해져. My cocoa bomb. Oh, I don't care what they say. I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just want. Oh baby, say it and make it a daily brighter day. I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just want. Oh baby, it's alright to be right. Goes on and on, yeah. 뒤투얼 한길 하얀 벚꽃만 바랬던 날. 거꾸로서길 바랬던 예전 소원 이룬 날. 너의 문자 사탕 같은 말. 숨길 수 없는 payday. 고소한 coffee, yes, we go on and on. Collect them all. Oh, I don't care what they say. I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just want. Oh baby, say it and make it a daily brighter day. I like it, I go la 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 la. I like it, I just want. Oh baby, it's alright to be right. Goes on and on, yeah. 사라질까 두려워, fight for it.
Yes, hello. Can you believe that this guy is already turning 11 years old this April? Officially a senior citizen. Yes, alright. Bye-bye. So anyway, that's that finished. Ready to go, ready to be set up. I'm just stuck at the moment in an endless loop of building enclosures and setting up enclosures and building enclosures and setting up enclosures. Not a complaint, just an observation. I do enjoy doing this, I just wish it wasn't quite so time consuming. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys whenever I see you. Bye.